Consumers and home buyers and home sellers are basically being lied to. There's something going on in the industry right now that is getting a lot of traction by the huge brokerages, and these are the publicly traded brokerages. I'm not going to mention any, but you know who they are. And I want to talk about this because this is very alarming to me, especially if you're someone who is intending on buying or selling real estate, the sellers more so than the buyers, but buyers as well. It's called the Clear Cooperation Policy. Let me tell you what's happening. First of all, the National Association of Realtors has rules, and one of the rules is something that was implemented just a few years back, which is the Clear Cooperation Policy. All this means is if you're going to go and take a listing, and as soon as you market that listing, you have to go put it into your multiple listing service, your MLS, within 1 day of marketing it. And the reason it happened is because sellers were getting screwed. Sellers basically signed a listing agreement with the listing agent that they got. And then that listing agent was trying to double dip, trying to double end the deal. They're trying to get the listing side and the buyer side commission. So obviously the sellers were upset and they said, what the heck, you're not even advertising my stuff into the MLS, and therefore it's not being syndicated onto, websites like realtor.com and Zillow and, literally 10,000 websites. So a new rule was implemented after real estate agents got greedy. And, greed is the first thing that happens in real estate. You start making a lot of money, and a lot of people the wrong people get attracted to the industry, and they get greedy. They try to get all the money. So now there's a rule. Clear Cooperation Policy, meaning you got to advertise it as soon as you tell a single client about your listing. Literally, that's how strict it is. So you have to put it in the MLS. Great. Everyone's happy, right? Wrong. After this National Association of Realtors commission lawsuit that got settled just recently, the big brokerages are now saying the following, and these are like the online brokerages. These are the ones that are really, kicking up a storm and taking all the business to themselves. Here's what they're saying. So what the big brokerages are saying is, hey, listen, buyers need a choice, and the choice should be theirs if they want to go and list it into the MLS or not list it into the MLS. And that's not the rules right now. Right now, if you want it not listed in the MLS, and you want it advertised, you have to sign with an agent who is not a member of the National Association of Realtors or your state and local boards, okay, which is pretty much like 3% of all agents, right? And those people are not heavy hitters. They don't have the track record behind them, okay? And why would these giant brokerages want to do this? Greed, that's the answer. They want this because of greed. How does it benefit them to say, hey, we don't have to put it into the MLS? Like, for example, let's pick one of the big companies out there, maybe one that starts with the letter, Z. And if they sign a listing, if you sign a listing agreement with them, and they're deep down in the verbiage of the paperwork, it's going to say, hey, we're not going to put it into the MLS. We're going to push it on our website. Obviously, they have the most trafficked website out there, so they're actually going to get you eyeballs on that house. And then what's going to happen is that some buyers are going to want to see it, and those buyers are going to be signed up with a buyer broker. So what that means is that they're exclusive to that buyer broker. And then the buyer broker is going to check in the MLS and be like, that's weird. It's not in there. Why not? And then they'll find out, well, they opted not to put it into the MLS, and maybe, they're not paying realtor commissions to other brokerages. They're just paying realtor commissions to the listing agent or a affiliated member of that listing brokerage. I mean, what a scam, right? How does it affect you as a seller? Well, you don't get the exposure. You're just on one website, maybe the biggest one, maybe not the biggest one. And that's where they push it. And they might give you some priority display over there. That's understandable, and that's a good marketing tactic. but you're not going to get on all the emails that people have set up into the MLS. For example, I have a whole bunch of people set up on auto emails for particular neighborhoods, particular price points, whatever my clients are looking for. I set up an email to automatically send them the data as soon as it comes up, like literally within 1 minute. They're going to get the email when a new listing hits the market. Well, that's not going to happen, because if that big company has that listing agreement, then you have to be on their email list, and then you call your agent and he's like, oh, well, I don't have access to that one. And that's true. He may not have access to that one. So now you feel like you have a crappy agent, you know, and now the big corporations, the ones that are publicly traded, are gonna go and take away more business. And I don't know if you agree with this, but usually when big corporations and hedge funds take over an industry, the people that win are the shareholders, and the people that lose are the people, like the humans out there using the service. That's usually what happens. This is a huge red flag, if you ask me. I totally disagree that clear cooperation should go away, even though I can see the other side of it, of double lending commissions. So now let me ask you this. What's more important? Is it seller's choice? Is it that the sellers should have the option to see how their properties are going to be marketed? Just like seller's choice with commissions, that has already been decided, that the Department of Justice went after, the National Association of Realtors, and they ended up making some changes because they felt that seller's choice is more important. Okay, so is it more important for seller's choice when it comes to marketing your property as well? And on one hand, I really do agree. I see that is a good thing. I like having choice. I don't like being told what to do. So for sure, that is a good thing. But knowing how big industries work, knowing how these multinational companies work, and these hedge funds they think about the quarterly reports and what kind of dividend does their stock give this quarter. They're not looking at the long run, and they definitely don't care about the consumer. Name a company that really cares about the consumer that's publicly traded. I mean, good luck. Maybe I'm just a little skeptical, but I don't trust these companies, and I think what's going to happen is that all buyers and sellers will lose out, and eventually it's going to be like your hands are tied behind your back, and that's that. It's also going to cause a lot of real estate agents to get out of the business, because what's likely to happen, I don't know for sure, but what's likely to happen is that if the clear cooperation policy goes away and now you have choice as a seller, you're going to go into a 1.5% listing with one of these large companies and thinking that you're saving money. But all that's happening is that you're not getting the full exposure to the market. And a lot of real estate agents, mostly buyer's agents, are going to say, oh my gosh, I can't compete with these agents from these large companies, because they have access to all my data, all the MLS data, and they have access to their own data, which now they might start sharing. So think about it like this. What if, I'm just going to name a few companies, what if Compass and Zillow and Redfin and a bunch of companies get together? This is just a hypothetical, but I see this hypothetical as the inevitable. What if they get together and they say, all right, let's make a pocket listing database. Only our listings go in this, and we are giving each other access to advertise our own listings to our own clients and share that, So now what happens? Every agent out there that is a listing agent or a buyer's agent doesn't have that to offer, and they just have the MLS to rely on. So they're not going to have as many listings to show, and that one client that you have might just want that particular home that's in this private database, which means that they'll go to one of those big companies that made this private database. I don't like it. Overall, I think it's not to the benefit of the buyers. It's to the benefit of the hedge funds, who are going to go out there, create these big lists and take listings at a low price to just get all these agents to stop renewing. And as agents stop renewing, You know who suffers? The National Association of Realtors. They're actually around because of the member fees. So as we dwindle with members, then we kind of go away. The power of the National Association of Realtors goes away. And then with that power going away comes more dictation by the big guys. What do you think?